Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Chantele. And we're talking about Survivor South Africa, episode 2.
Episode 2. That's right. But first, if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. And if you're interested in Patreon, there's a link below. Come join. We'd love it. But yes, Chantele is back. It's episode 2 time, Survivor South Africa, and I liked this episode.
I like this episode too. Hopefully I can speak about this episode as well. Get these words out of my mouth. Definitely love this episode. I love all these characters. I love that it's like fast moving. We kind of were talking beforehand about like, it's not an hour and a half long. You know, it's like it gets to the point. We see all the action and we're getting to learn a little bit about the other tribe because well,
yes,
we get to
don't
learn.
We love a little balance?
Yes.
You know, I don't need just all one tribe for the first like 5 episodes. Like, let's balance it, and that's exactly what happens here. Of course, at the top of this episode, we do see, you know, the coming back from tribal. There's always a little bit of, you know, little problem solving, a little cover my butt. You know, we see Sean just sort of like trying to make up for his big scene at tribal.
I mean, he was doing a pretty good job. He's kind of saying like, oh, like I hated what you guys put me through, but I love the blind side. And so it was really a good strategy for him not to make them feel kind of bad about what they did or feel like he was going to hold it against them. So he's making it easy going. And we didn't see it, but apparently he's throwing a little Dino under the bus there, which has been noticed. But I thought that's also a good tactic just to get a little bit of heat off of him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He did a great job with that. And then we also see Rhaenyra and Amy have some sort of secret alliance happening.
It's called the Underground Mafia.
Okay. All right. Sure.
That's good. I mean, it's a pretty good name. I thought it was surprising that they were coming together. I didn't see that coming at all.
No, and I like both of them. I think they're both strong players. So if it really is truly like this underground thing, I'm intrigued.
Especially since last episode with Rhaenyra, it seemed as though he was kind of out in front a little bit and like, you know, showing a little bit of his hand, kind of forcing that Jason vote. And so with him having something undercover, I think that's a smart strategy for him, like moving forward.
Yeah. And Amy is a part of this like super trusted girl trio thing. They just apparently were running everything in the first episode. So yeah, the two of them might be really, really strong together.
I think so. And she trusts him implicitly. So that's also really good. And she's a lawyer, so she's going to have a good read on like what's going on in the game or like just people and personalities and tactics. So I think that if she's feeling strong about trusting Rhaenyra completely, I think that it's probably going to work out in her favor.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump over to Vuna. Now we get to hop over to the other tribe, and we start to see that like Paul is becoming a thing. He's apparently a master builder now. Just a little bit of talking about Paul.
Yeah, he was kind of, they're saying, who was it? It was Anesu was saying that like he kind of talks to everybody and he's quite social. And I don't really see that for him. I feel like he's just kind of there, just kind of building. He's kind of nice to everybody. I don't feel like he has strategy and he's doing anything master manipulating at all. I don't think that he's that.
This whole edit with Paul, like he's kind of a small like B story of this episode. But I was like, they're not showing it to us in the edit. Like we're not seeing it. We're just hearing about how Paul's great. Paul's in with everyone. Love Paul. And then cut to Paul just like.
We still don't know really though how he's feeling though.
Right.
And even some things that he says, like it might be maybe some phrases from South Africa that I'm just not familiar with how they put together some of their slang. Right. But like, I'm just kind of didn't understand fully what he even meant by some of the things that he said. So I'm like, is he saying that he knows the game really well? Or is he just saying that he's happy to be there? Like, I wasn't really sure where he stand.
No. And I felt like Paul always looks like he's about to laugh at you.
Yes.
Like it's kind of like a laugh at you though, maybe not with you kind of thing. He's always on the verge. So yeah, again, I was like, what's the edit showing us here?
Well,
not really sure.
feel like he's gonna go anywhere anytime soon. Like I think that he will be somebody that sticks around. Merge happens for sure. Like I think he's gonna be there for a long haul, but I don't think that he's gonna be the author of his own fate. You know, he's not gonna be like directing himself to get to the end. I think that he's just gonna kind of go with the flow and maybe make it all the way to final 2 or final 3, but I just don't know if he's gonna have any agency in how he gets there.
Yeah. We also see some Pinty and Carla developments here. And oh boy, they're not getting along here at this top section here. And Carla gives us the information that she'll give someone 3 days. And then she'll decide.
I think that's pretty fair. Pinty doesn't appear to be as kind to Carla than she is with other people, or just how she treats Carla is not the same as she treats some other people. If I were Carla, I wouldn't be really having this grown woman speak to me that way. I would be quite fed up. So I understand where Carla was coming from, and it was probably frustrating for her that not everybody could see how Pinty was treating her, but the people that did were kind of like, no, we see it, we get it. She's kind of I don't know what the word is, but she's not treating her very well.
Yeah, she doesn't have that bright and cheery, I'm playing a social game thing going on. She's going to tell you she doesn't like something, right?
Yeah, and she's very smart, Pinty, that is. Actually, they both seem quite smart. So it's very confusing to me that Pinty's not recognizing that how she's coming across, at least to Carla, isn't... Carla's not going to want to keep her around. We end up talking later in the episode. She feels as though if Carla's number 1, Mike goes out, then they can just bring Carla back into the fold. I did Lady Die. Oh my God,
we were just talking about that right before we went on. So thank you for bringing it up, Lady Di.
Thanks for reminding me. That was the most stressful, painful experience of my life. I'd never played before. I was bumbling around, and I ended up getting to the end and winning. But
and is that really over on Rob Has a Podcast? Is that where people can find it? Okay, great.
Absolutely. It should still be there. Puya and Liana are moderating it. So there's two games that you can watch us. A lot of the RJP podcasters are all doing a whole big game. So it's actually pretty fun to watch, but it was really stressful to be a part of.
But Hunter, we're not talking about Chantele's lack of self-awareness. I bumped that up too early. Back to Pinty, her lack of self-awareness. Yeah, that's what it is.
Surprising, because I do feel that she's strong in challenges from what I've seen. She does have a strategic mind. So why hasn't she recognized? She knows it's a social game. She's expecting to be able to bring Carla back into the fold if she, gets rid of her right-hand man. Yeah. How does she think that that's a possibility when she hasn't been being kind to Carla? Like, Carla's not going to want to just go and be like, hey, let's go be in an alliance together now that my number 1 guy, like, she's going to be mad about that. And B, you're not going to be the first person that she's going to want to turn to.
Yeah, I think that makes it very clear that it's just a lack of self-awareness, because she is literally like, we're going to bring Carla in. It's going to be great. Carla's going to come crawl into us. And I'm like, what? You think Carla's coming to you?
Maybe to Anesu, but not to you.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Okay, but before we get there, we're going to play a reward challenge. We've got a cage in the water. We've got fish traps. We're untying things. We are ending with a puzzle. Classic Survivor stuff here. Vuna has to sit someone out. They sit out Anesu. Thought that was interesting. And Vuna takes a lead here in the beginning.
So one thing I didn't really understand about the challenge, it just might have been how they cut it, but at times there are people running back without traps. And then at another round, from the same team, they're running back with 2 traps. So I just didn't understand how that was working out. If they're running out there, wouldn't they just come back with the trap? I don't know if you noticed that. But
I think it was, if I'm understanding it correct, they sent more people out than traps, though, right? Wasn't it 4 people running out for 2 traps?
Yeah, but then the next time, I don't know. I think there's more than 2 traps. I think there's 3 or 4 traps, but maybe I just remember even with
sometimes it's like, if you can't get it, just get out and let someone else do it. Maybe it was.
Oh, maybe everybody had to make an attempt at go there and come back in order or something. Because like,
or sometimes if you're just struggling, people are like, I'll do it. Stop.
Because Santoni, why did she came back with nothing in her hand?
She wasn't gonna get it. No.
Chappie's getting a nice Chappie award today.
Chappie
he was being so gentlemanly and very helpful.
Yes, I feel like he's in a good spot. Well, we'll talk about this later with the votes, but I think he's in a good spot. Yeah, poor Santoni. She is a struggle bus in this challenge. Even Nico's like, girl, get it together. Let's go. But Chappie's does run out to help her a little bit. So we see, like, when we get to the puzzle is when things really start to sort of show us who's going to win here. We've got Thariso, Sean, and Dino who are going to rotate for Zamba, and Kieran, Pinty, and Paul for Vuna. And I didn't understand this part. I was like, why are we just like looking at it? And then we're like, okay, tag out.
I totally didn't understand it either. I'm like, if you kind of start figuring it out and get like a piece in and start figuring out the rhythm, like, wouldn't you want to stay there because like you were on a roll? I don't remember who did it, but they were like, oh, you got a piece in. They're like, okay, so come here. Like, you just have to put it right here. And I'm like, why don't you just put it right there? Like, did they not want the onus of either failing the puzzle or winning because they didn't want to have that on their shoulders?
Yeah, no, it did not make any sense other than like, here, I've got it set up for you. Come and finish the rest. No, it didn't make sense. And then also people are tagging out when they're like, I can't figure it out at all.
That's fine. Tag out when you can't figure it out. But like to switch, like you need to stick with the puzzle. Like the one person, or if you can't do it, somebody else comes in. But the Rolodex of like people trying a puzzle is not faster at all. Just to be like, to start to get your mind in like, okay, how's this puzzle work? Like, no.
And it does not work out for Vuna at all. They don't make any progress. They're all just staring at it, not figuring it out. But Dino, he gets a piece, he starts to figure it out, and he just goes, no more tagging out, thank you. Dino's just like, I'll do this. And he fills up the whole puzzle, and then boom, Zamba wins.
So yeah, as soon as Dino was on the puzzle, I was like, you know what, he's gonna have to maybe embrace this role, because he kind of, we're not sure how he really sits now this new week after like all of his snafus the week before. So he might need to be the hero and just like work with being the hero instead of like being like the person that is like super cagey. So I'm happy that he got in this role. He performed well and won the challenge for him.
Yeah. No, he performed so well. And I think that is good for him. There's some question about it later, but like, you needed that, buddy. You were shady first episode. So after this, we go to camp, we go to Vuna first. And you know what, Chantele? It's good to be humbled. You know, sometimes you got to lose.
I mean, it is good to be humbled, especially in the beginning of Survivor. Also this week, I podcasted about Palau and about how the fact that the entire, decimation of the poor Oolong tribe and the other tribe didn't get to experience what it's like to lose, really, maybe a couple of reward challenge. And so I think this is really good for the other tribe to like just not completely know what it's like to just be on a winning streak. I think that in Survivor, you need to understand what it's like to lose, for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sean. Okay, so yeah, we have 2 teams sending out 4, but only 2 fish traps, right? Am I reading your message correctly? So, and they couldn't return to the water. So they either had to so if you could grab 2, you could. And run back.
Sean.
Okay. So I think that's what you're saying. And I appreciate you helping us out there. Because that's what it seemed like to me.
Total of 4 fish traps. Okay.
So 2 each. Oh, so 2 each coming. Gotcha. Without returning back. Okay.
I thought there was more than 2.
Yeah, Santoni not looking good in this. Not her challenge for sure. But that's okay. That's okay. like you said, you got to learn to lose, and you can't be great at all the challenges.
And this is
just a
also where
given.
we end up starting seeing them. So the formidable, not 3, but 4 is formed. And that's where Paul gets pulled into the alliance with Chappies and Anesu and Pinty. And I was like, even that was just so bizarre how they pulled him. I think it was Pinty pulled him in. And I was like,
was Chappies. No, Pinty was like,
oh,
I don't know about this Paul guy. Chappies is like, I'm gonna pull people in. I'm doing stuff here. Let's bring people in. And he brings Paul into the group. And again, Paul's just like, hey guys.
Hey. Thanks for having me.
He has not contributed anything to the conversation in the edit. We can't see it. But Pinty is like, okay, I don't know about you. But Pinty and Anesu are like, yeah, hey, Paul, welcome to our little foursome. Okay. This is now a group.
Also a little bit kind of like, I'm not sure about this. Like, I thought she was a little bit cagey about it, like kind of just keeping her eye on that situation. She wasn't 100% gung-ho.
Yeah. And this is when Chappies reveals that he did get an advantage, and it's called diplomatic immunity. And he explains it, although he's a little misleading with his explanation. I could say myself or someone from the tribe.
Is that true, though?
Well, I think he could give it to someone else on the tribe, but he made it sound like he could send somebody.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're going to the other tribe. And that's not what it is. I think the bracelet is the power. So if he were to give it to, his Anesu, if Anesu wanted it and he gave it to Anesu that she could use it, I think that's how it would use. But he made it sound like he could send someone.
Yeah. And I wasn't sure if I thought that it was a good idea for him to share that necessarily with them. So it seems like it's so late in the game. Maybe it was like 10 minutes after, like he already said that, like, oh, I didn't get anything. But like, he basically lied to everybody, said like, I didn't get anything over there other than what I've told you about. And then, a little bit later be like, actually, I got an advantage. And so I feel like it might make him look a little bit less trustworthy as opposed to gaining trust.
I always feel like if you're telling your alliance members, then you're gaining trust with them, right? If you're sitting there with your group and you're like, okay, guys, I'm going to tell you the secret, they feel good about it. But later, when it gets leaked outside of your group, then yes. Oh boy, now we know Chappies keeps secrets.
Yeah, I do think that he should have told them earlier, though. Like, I can hear where you're coming from, absolutely. But I just feel like, if you don't run and tell them right away, it just seems as though he's being selective as to when he wants to share this. And it's like, oh, I'm going to share this with you now to try to solidify our alliance. It's like, well, why didn't you tell us this before? We've thought for the last however many days that you didn't get anything. So why are you telling us now?
Well, over on Zomba, we got to pop over there because they're celebrating. Big winners. Hello. So happy. But Nicole, we're getting some sound bites from her. She's got her eye on Dino. She was already thinking he's sneaky. And now that he's like super good at puzzles, she's just going to sort of keep her eye on him is what it sounded like.
And Dino is probably feeling the heat because he's worried about coming across as too strong. I mean, I love that people are looking at everybody like, oh, yeah, you're too good. You're too good. I hope that Dino can kind of figure it out because I'm really rooting for him still. I think that he has some upswing for sure. I want him to stick around. So hopefully he can kind of like make some better friends or a better alliance. Need him to get in.
Right. And I think he's realizing like I did need to do this. I did need to win this for the tribe to get on their good side, but it also does make my threat level go up. I think he does see that. And the same thing with Anella here. He's sort of talking and I wasn't able to decipher like, are you wanting to work with Dino now? Are you trying to... Are you suspicious?
Like he wasn't wanting to work with Dino. To me, it seemed as though he has Dino on his radar and he's not going to maybe push for anything right now, but it does seem like Dino would be next or maybe one after Sean would be like his ideal.
Well, I want to keep him because he's going to win the puzzles.
That's what I would think.
Wait till closer to merge. Like you can't get rid of him too soon. I need to win comps, at this point.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to Vuna real quick here, and Chappies is talking to Paul, And this is a great idea, I think. Chappies is talking about bringing in the weakest player,
Yes.
which is now Santony. So because odds are she's going to go to Immunity Island and we can get intel about Immunity Island.
Absolutely. I think that this was so smart. I was like, yes, like, you know, especially if like the other tribe is going to be using your weakest player or who they assume that might be, you know, maybe voted out, like using that person as the way to get more information from Immunity Island. I think that's super smart for him to be like, well, we might as well weaponize our weakest player and allow them to be bringing some intel. So yeah, I thought it was really smart, and I hope nobody else thinks of it, because I do want it to work out for that alliance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to start to see different groups of this sort of spaghetti alliance that's happening over on Vuna. But making the target Mike, basically, is how this is starting. We see Tyson talking with Anesu Warda. Well, Warda's not quite there, but talking about how they trust her. And now Pinty coming into that group. They're talking about wanting to bring in Kieran, but Kieran's too close to Mike. And this is when we start to hear Mike maybe isn't trustworthy. Some people have their eye on Mike. Not so sure about Mike.
Well, we haven't really seen this, though. Like, I can believe them. It seems like Anesu feels as though he's super smart about the game, and I haven't really seen that. All I've really seen of him is kind of hanging out and hugging Carla every once in a while, and that's pretty much it. Like, it just seems like him and Carla are good friends, and it doesn't seem that he's gaming that much at all. So we could have missed some stuff because we weren't focused on this tribe, you know, the last couple days. So maybe we didn't see him being a lot more strategic, but I'm not sure why all eyes are on Mike.
Right. It is confusing, but we have to go with what they're telling us. Nesu, we also, because like we said, she's in the middle of every alliance. Everyone wants to work with her, but we hear from her that the people she actually trusts are Chappies, Warda, Tyson, and Pinty. Warda is aware. I loved this soundbite. Warda says, Anesu's in all of them. She's in all the alliances, and I'm going to get the information from her from these other little groups.
So, okay, so you love this. I was worried about this for Anesu because, like, you know, it's just anybody knowing that you have too many alliances or that you getting too much information, if that leaks out, it's just so detrimental to your game potentially. So, I mean, I'm assuming then with Warda knowing that information, that her and Anesu are the tightest of all of her alliances, and that she's like, I'm telling you everything. This is what's going on. I'm going to be going out, getting all the information and bring it back to, you know, the queen bee or whatever. So hopefully that's what's happening, but it's a little scary.
Well, yes, I agree. I think it's scary for Anesu's game.
Yeah.
But for Warda, this is great. She's like, cool, I'm going to be besties with this person, because I do think they're sort of like 1 and 2, this little duo. And so she is just benefiting from Anesu bringing back all the information. Yeah. Will it catch up with Anesu at some point?
It's so testy. But I do think that she's handling it quite well. I don't know if I would be able to bounce around and have a different kind of perspective so quickly. Like, you know, somebody walks in and like you're having another alliance conversation, you know what I mean? Like, she's very good at adapting to the people that she's talking to. So she's maneuvering quite well so far. I just wonder if it's going to catch up to her.
Right. Now, flipping over to Carla. We already learned Carla and Pinty, not so great.
No good.
And Kieran is bringing information back to this little group that Mike is the name that they're talking about. And that just ticks Carla off. She says she's protective of Mike and she's not going to have this.
I don't know any of their relationship statuses, and I don't particularly care, but I'm just curious if there's maybe a love connection brewing here that hasn't been maybe shown yet or acted on or anything like that. Like, you know, protective of or has a crush on. I love seeing when people get together on Survivor because it's just so gross out there that it must be something real if they're like going to cuddle and canoodle out in the, the silence.
It's gross, guys. It's just gross. But they do it. They do
Come
it
on,
all
you
the
didn't
time.
love Rob and Amber getting together, like.
Oh my gosh, it's so gross. And I recently rewatched Micronesia, and it was just like Ozzy and a man. I'm like, oh, it's so gross.
They were
Y'all,
gross.
you're like kissing mouths that have not brushed your teeth in days. Like, can you imagine?
Well, it would just be like, I guess, I don't know. It would smell really bad, and it'll probably be in really furry teeth.
Ah, how is this sexy? How is this sexy at all?
But like, also, like, what about like the raw, like, endorphins
thank
and
you.
like all the
Confirmed by Sean. Gross. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess you get caught up in some sort of endorphins because we've seen it. I don't know. Yeah, we'll be interested to see if it happens this season. We get a little soundbite from Carla going into immunity challenge here, and I loved this. I've never heard this before, but egos trip, but humble doesn't stumble. She was talking about like being confident, and I was like, all right, I'm going to write that one down. I'll keep that one.
That's
Humble doesn't stumble.
I also was wondering why Pinty was so mad at her for drying her shoes over the fire. Like, why?
It's why are you yelling at someone about their shoes at the fire?
It's like,
you are playing a game. There are big picture here, people. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I was just like, ooh, honey, this is not good. This is not good for you. Okay, this immunity challenge. First off, they look like they're freezing. They're like so cold.
I don't like when they're that cold though out there, because like
I don't like it. The rain. I don't like
the rain, and it gets to your bones. I lived in Vancouver for 4 years, and people are just like, "Oh my god, don't you love it here? Because like it never snows." And I'm like, I hate it here because it's actually always raining. It rained for 3 months or like 58 days straight, and it was just like gray. Really? Oh my god, it's so bad. And like, I'm like not a very depressed person. I was depressed, and yeah, like it's like to your bones, and it's just like shivering, and you're cold, and if you can't get that shiver out of your bones, it's very uncomfortable.
Oh, I would struggle so much. I get cold in like 60-degree weather. It's so. Which I'm sorry, a lot of y'all are
20.
Yeah, no, it's not even. It's like, well, I don't know the adjustments. Oops, sorry. It's not cold, is what I'm saying. I grew up in warm weather. I just can't handle the slightest bit of chill. I went to Vancouver one weekend, and it was the most beautiful weekend I've ever seen. So,
really, did you go to like Whistler, or were you just in the city?
No, I was in the city for work. But it was gorgeous and the weather was beautiful. And so now you've ruined my fantasy that
I've had a few beautiful days in Vancouver, but it's definitely it's for me. I didn't love the city, but there was there's tons of stuff about Vancouver that were great, and tons of things that I didn't love. And the weather personally was one of it, because at least in Toronto and Montreal, where I spent most of my life, it's like even in the wintertime, yeah, it might be snowing, but it's still sunny. Like still seeing the blue skies, it's I don't know, it's just not as depressing. So that's what I take away from living in a colder climate more often.
Yeah, no, the sun makes such a big difference. And they don't have it here for this immunity challenge. They're going to carry bags of coconuts and
sandbags
across beams. There's a seesaw beam. There's a balance beam. We've got to break down a wall and rebuild it back up as a puzzle. Santini does sit out. Shocker. She sits out, and this first seesaw beam that they have to get over is just kryptonite to Zamba. They can't get over it.
I don't know if it's because it's cold or because haven't eaten very much or whatnot, but I feel like balance beams are usually pretty easy, and so like I was surprised that people were having as much trouble as they were. And also the terrifying fall of Rainier. At least it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it looked awful. Like,
yeah. I bet it hurt more than he let on. He probably was like this the whole night, like a crick in his neck. Yeah, he straight up landed on his head, but I'm glad that it wasn't that bad, because it sure did look it. But I'm going to go ahead and say the edit of this episode told us who was going to tribal. We got so little from Zamba that I was like, the fact that it looked at this point like Zamba was losing did not compute. So we knew something was going to switch up here.
Well, and just from the whole beginning of the episode, I felt like we got a lot more character development and seeing what was going on with the alliances. And so, yes, we hadn't had a look at them yet, so maybe they're just trying to even it out. But if it wasn't going to be relevant later on, that we knew what was going on with these alliances, like I was definitely like, I don't think that they're winning this one. So yes, my spidey senses were going off as well. I felt as though, you know, that's how the edit was telling me.
Yeah, it was so Vuna heavy, but this was really exciting to watch it go down because Vuna is got a huge lead. They are moving on to this second balance beam, which is much easier. While Zamba's still trying to do this balance one, the seesaw one. But by the time we get to where we're separating the bag, we've opened up the bags, we're separating the coconuts out of it. Basically, both tribes are neck and neck at this point. They've caught up. And so now it just comes down to basically the puzzle, like so often. Comes down to
so often does. I mean, I love puzzles. I'm decent at them, but they are really stressful when you're watching them for Survivor. I have played a live version of Survivor before last summer when we weren't in lockdown. Can you believe we weren't in lockdown at one point last summer in Toronto?
I don't remember it. No.
And so we actually got to play some of the typical the games. So do you know like the snake one where you had like there's like a ball and you had to move it up like the little like snake to the top. So they had that one that we played, and then there was also a table maze one. So we were had to do all these challenges, and it's really nerve-wracking to do that puzzle after you've done all this adrenaline pumping stuff beforehand. So I do feel for them because like you're just like honestly your hands are like shaking. I'm like I'm doing this for free and my hands are shaking. So like I don't know, having like $1 million or however many dollars that they're playing for, I can understand them not necessarily being able to focus and like do those puzzles super quickly because adrenaline really messes things up.
Oh, I can imagine. I would love to do that. That sounds like a lot of fun. Well, good for Zamba because they put Dino back on a puzzle. It's him and Keon. And then Anesu and Carla are over on the puzzle for Vuna. But Vuna feels frantic. Vuna is like yelling. And Carla's like, stop yelling. You're wrong. Like it just doesn't seem like they're getting it.
I think that they could feel that they were close to losing and they just like panic literally was just setting in. And, you know, when you're panicked, you're not thinking straight. And so you're just going to be spiraling out of control. And you have to be the opposite in those situations. You have to like actually take a deep breath and slow the F down so that you can like really assess the situation and not make silly mistakes. And you can hear them be like, flip that, turn that. And it's like too many voices. You actually can't hear what anybody's saying. And it just sounds like confusion and desperation and panic. And that's not helpful or conducive to finishing the puzzle. So they panicked.
Like you said, if you've got to like see the big picture, you've got to like see it and figure it out. And if some people are yelling at you, that's going to make it harder. You're going to get stressed out. It's going to be a lot harder. So not surprised here. Zamba wins. They get their puzzle first.
And I was happy they won.
Oh, very happy. Very excited for them. And then they send Santony. No surprise there as well.
No surprise at all. I do like this this little twist. I don't know if it's going to last forever. And I like that it brings some strategy into it. As we already kind of talked about with, you know, Chappie wanting to bring Santony in, like if she's going to be the one that goes to Immunity Island. And so I do like this layer of strategy that it does bring into the game. And it gives the opportunity for somebody that might be voted out first or second, like to stay in the game longer and be used as a piece in the game. And people were willing to work with them because like, ooh, people will send her for sure. Let's weaponize her and allow her to be part of our team instead of it being someone expendable. So I like the twist a lot.
Agreed. I like any time that we can save an underdog right at the top because it's at the top that they're an easy out. So last week with Thuriso, this week with Santini, giving them the chance to sort of keep working on those relationships and see what they can get done. Love that. I think the players in the game have to see that this was a trend in the first two tribals and that they've got to switch up their game and not make the expected choice the next time they make this choice.
Exactly. It's fun. I love strategy, and I love when it's like, I'm like, okay, so who are they going to send now? Like, because like, they might not want to send the same person over and over again, you know, because that might, like, if that might not be good, they might want to, you know, change things up. So yes, I do like seeing the strategy of this for sure.
Yeah. So let's go to Immunity Island with Santini. Now I get it, you guys. Chantele and I last week were just a little confused. It seemed like Immunity Island was doing the most, lots of layers, and we were like, oh, what? But now I get it. Okay. They do. First off, Chantele, they do spend the night. We were like, there was a hut, there was food. Why aren't they spending the night? Because I heard it this time. Nico says, tomorrow night, I'll see you at Tribal.
Okay.
In the US, at least I'm used to, tonight you'll see me at Tribal. So at least I was just assuming, okay, Tribal was that night. But no, we get a whole night of strategy, of conversations, and for someone to spend the night at Immunity Island. So she did stay there. And the next night, she'll go to Tribal with the necklace and automatically lose her vote because she has the necklace. That's one layer.
Yes. Check.
The second layer is, do you want to play this game or not?
Which you might as well.
I mean, please do. If anyone turns it down, I'm going to be real mad. If you lose your game, you're going to have some sort of consequence. And I think that's what was confusing with Thuriso last week, is that her consequence was also just losing her vote. So I was...
For that same week where she already lost her vote? Okay.
No, for the next one.
Gotcha.
So we got our necklace and our lost vote for tomorrow night's Tribal. The next Tribal is how your game's going to go through. So Santini's consequence is her next Tribal would be a vote against her, which is way worse than you just not being able to vote.
Terrible.
That was actually almost risky enough for me to say, no, I don't want to play.
Well, yeah, no, especially since like you're being sent over to Immunity Island because you're most likely the person that would be the easiest to be voted out. So for you to come back and have a vote, I mean, obviously you can't tell a soul like that's going with you to the end of the game. Like you can't tell anybody that you have a vote against you there because like, oh, you have a vote? Okay, let's all pile our votes on, like we might as well.
Yeah.
So you'd have to maybe like try to make some sort of strategy as to like, oh my God, someone voted for me. Who was it? Is that the angle? I don't know how to play that out because it's really, I think it sucks.
I think if there's only that one random vote against you, I think you could play it off if you wanted, but I would just be honest.
After?
I would just be like, yeah.
I'm sorry, I had to put a vote on myself. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that makes people know you didn't win anything.
That's true.
It helps to say like, see, I had a vote against me. I didn't win the game, and then you can be like, I'm a big loser. And then no one's worried about you. Maybe is how I would do that.
I would not want to have a vote against me.
No, especially if it's like potentially close and you're like, oh crap, I got to think about this other.
I voted myself out for losing at a game.
Santini doesn't have to worry about it because she plays that little hook game really nicely and she gets it. She gets a clue to an idol, which is actually hidden at Tribal.
Yes. I love the Hidden at Tribal. They did it in, I forgot which season of Australian Survivor, but like it's quite dramatic when people are trying to like they're leaving and they're just like trying to grab stuff. Yes, we can't blame Paul. Poor Paul. Or Carla, Paul. It seems. Paul, Carla, just blame them.
Boy. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like the drama of it all. We saw in Winners at War how, I forget his name right now, how he was trying to see if the emblem on Jeff's podium, if that was an idol. Like,
Oh
I
my
do
gosh.
like all the
Who was
you
that?
know,
Adam?
yeah,
Who was
Adam,
that?
Adam. I like it. I like
Oh.
this.
Well, at first I was terrified that it was at Tribal because I was like, oh my gosh, that is a guaranteed everyone is there and really hard to grab. But then it said you could save it for any time. So if you're not worried about someone else maybe finding it, because I mean, if it's always there, someone else could find it, but you didn't have to risk grabbing it. You could just
start
hold
planning
tight.
how you're going to get it, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
but
but if you could just wait, because let's say in 4 tribals from now, you need it. You stand up in front of everybody. You just go over there and you grab it, because at that point, it doesn't matter. You're about to play it.
But what if another, like somebody else from another tribe gets the same information, right? So like if more people have the information, they have all eyes are on this idol, and somebody else might be able to get it before her. So I wouldn't be able to do it, I don't think, that first one, but I'd be trying to figure out how to get it as soon as possible, because somebody else might be either in more danger or be more of a risk taker, or they might just go for it. So she needs to try as soon as she can.
Well,
exactly.
She doesn't do it. Spoiler alert, when we get to the end, she doesn't do it. Okay, so let's go to Vuna, because now Vuna has to figure out some things here. They're going to Tribal. Who are they going to vote out? And it's basically Mike versus Pinty.
Yes. Like, I know obviously that Carla was not happy with Pinty. I didn't realize that she kind of had rubbed the rest of the tribe the wrong way. It seemed to me, from what they were showing us, is that she kind of was in solid with some people. I feel like she had she had her foursome alliance, and it seemed like people respected her, and she only really had kind of dissension with Carla. So I was a little bit surprised that Pinty's name was up there. Mike, I wasn't surprised though.
Yeah, they kind of made it clear to us that this sort of attitude isn't just directed at Carla, that Pinty is a little rough around the edges towards everyone or most people. And so then it's kind of like, well, maybe we can get Pinty out at any time because people don't love her, It becomes that. But so Carla is like on a mission, right? She has to save her beloved Mike and get Pinty out. And Mike tells Pinty he's thinking of voting out.
No, it's Kieran, isn't it? Wasn't it Kieran?
Yes,
Kieran saying that she was going to vote out Mike?
Mike, thank you. Kieran says, yeah, I'm thinking of voting out Mike. And Pinty goes off on why she doesn't believe Kieran. What was that about?
It was not the move. You kind of have to be like an information sponge at some points, and just kind of listen to things and then kind of take it back to your main alliance, because her basically interrogating poor Kieran, that's just they were just talking about Pinty being a possibility. So I thought it was a very quick switch, and he did a pretty good job of changing the conversation topic.
Yeah.
But for her to just go in on somebody I thought you guys were friends. Why would you do that? It's not you. So you should be kind of okay with this.
Right. What the only reason that you would ever say to someone, I don't believe you, is because you're trying to vote them out. Yes. Right? So she's telling Kieran, no, I don't believe you. You're too close to Mike. And I'd like to talk to this person without you. And then turn to that person and says, let's get Mike out. I was like, Pinty, you should now be saying, let's get Kieran out by your attitude that you just showed us. The follow-up is, I don't trust him. He's lying. Let's get Kieran out. And that's not what she was saying at all. She was like, yeah, Mike.
So it's like she completely burned her bridge with poor Kieran and made him not be interested in keeping her around in order for to do exactly what he was proposing anyways.
Yes. Why are you making an enemy out of someone when they're saying they'll vote for the person you want them to vote for?
Like, what would be more interesting is if she was like, like after she does talk to Anesu and was like, yeah, I don't really believe Kieran. I don't think that it's in his best interest or whatever for Mike to go. So I think to cut him off at the knees, let's take out Mike and see like if he really, you know, if that's who he actually votes for. You know what I mean? Like do it maybe that way to catch him in the lie and you know, let's okay, you want that? Let's do that then. As opposed to like making Kieran not want you in the game anymore, Pine Tea.
Yeah. Because, okay, another angle is if he's saying, yeah, I'm thinking about voting Mike out and you don't believe him, you know he's too close to Mike and you don't believe him, then you have to think he's talking about me then, right? So why make him really want to vote you out then? Just go, oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay,
cool.
Sure.
And then circle back with Anesu or anybody else and further your conversations and get him caught in a lie or whatever. But these are the only options here. These are the only sides. And Pinty went a different way.
Interrogating him and then voting the way he wants to vote.
Yes.
Pinty.
It was a lot. It was a lot. But then I'm excited because we bounced back over to Immunity Island. And this is what I love. Okay. Last week I was like, I feel, you know, preseason, I had this vibe about Santini. I was like, there's something about her. I want to learn more about her. And we did.
Yes.
We go back over there and she's like, well, I might as well use my time wisely. What else is maybe on this island?
Loved it. I was smiling. I was like, you lift up that rug. You put your hand through that rice.
Right.
Like you go, you find that hidden in Immunity Idol clue. And she did. She found it. It was, I guess, at the sign where, you know, like where it says Immunity Island. And she finds a clue, which I was like, girl, you get it. You deserve it. I'm super happy that, you know, you took that opportunity. And it ends up being really good. Definitely worth losing your vote at that tribal that you're going to be going to. Like, this is like, you got an idol where you know where one is for sure. And then you have a clue to a second one. And you might even be able to go back there again. Like, I think it's definitely great.
Oh, she is here to play. She showed us. She is thinking about the game. She is constantly working. I love it. She potentially has 2 idols at this point, and she's an underdog. I mean, loving where she is at this point. And
I love also that she says, she's like, nobody's playing. And I'm like, yes, you're recognizing that nobody's playing. Okay, you outplay these people. I'm super happy that.
When she was saying nobody was playing, she was like, they're not having conversations, and I'm like, yeah, they are.
It's because it's not without you. True.
It's without you. It's bad when you're like, no one's having strategic combos, and you're like, that just means they're not talking to you.
Okay, fair. But
anyway,
I like that she's at least feeling as though, you know, she wants to make some moves. And so I think with her having this information now about, like, she knows where one idol is, she has this new clue, she has a little bit of power here. And so we also know that with how Chappie wants to start using her, she might start getting to play the game with these people now. She'll be involved.
Yes. So back at Vuna, we're really seeing Anesu, like we already called. She's in the middle of all of this. She's basically in the middle of this vote. She's talking to all of her little duos and trios. But we also see Carla feeling confident. But then we're also seeing a lot of Pinty's work. And so I have to be honest at this point. It sounds like Mike is going, but I'm not sure by the edit.
This is exactly what I wrote there. I said, I'm like, Carly is too excited to get out Pinty. I'm like, I think Mike is going. That's what I wrote down.
Right.
So
yeah, exactly. If you're showing us like how confident she was, you're like, oh boy.
Waiting for the egg in the face moment.
Yeah, and we're hearing sound bites from other groups of like, yeah, Mike's probably, yeah. Pinty was putting in a lot of work.
Well, and also though, like from what they showed us with Anesu, it seemed as though she was more confident with staying with Pinty. Like it seemed as though that's where she felt stronger, a stronger bond, a stronger relationship. And so I haven't seen how much she has bonded with the Carla and the Mike. Is that a threesome, three of them, or is there somebody else, or Kieran, I guess? Kieran. Anyways, I just haven't really seen necessarily them interact that much. So I really thought that she had more loyalty to, we'll say, Pinty here. So that's kind of where I was getting my assessment of like, yeah, I think that Mike's going because I think she's stronger connection to Pinty.
Yeah, agreed. So when we go to tribal, I don't know who we're voting for here, except I'm assuming it's Mike. And then our conversation, they don't really give us any information. We do see Santini arrive from Immunity Island, and girl is like so obvious about looking. Where's that idol I'm supposed to find?
I wasn't even watching the screen. I was taking notes at that time, and I could see from like my peripheral vision her looking around. Like I didn't even have to be looking at the screen for me to know that she was looking for an idol. It was so funny.
It was like neck crane. It was like real obvious. I was like, ooh, dial it down. Just
I wasn't sure if Nico
there.
was going to say something, being like, Santoni, like, are you looking for something?
What are they looking for? We have questions about, are they a family getting along? Is there a black sheep? We have sound bites about no one should feel safe. If you do, you're cocky, or maybe you're out of the loop. We're getting a lot of these almost philosophical conversations, but with no names. We're not getting any hints on which way the tribe has decided.
Yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason, I wasn't really paying attention to this conversation that they were having because I thought it was just 100% Mike's gone. So I wasn't really like trying to dissect what people were saying. I really fully believed that he was out.
Mike, yeah.
And so that he didn't know that he was the black sheep, because I think he even got like a specific question where it was like, do you feel safe? Or one of those questions that Nico asked. And so I thought that how he answered it was like, oh, he's the one that doesn't know what's going on in the tribe. And so I was just like, this is how it's going.
Yeah. No, I was agreeing. Like I thought Mike was going, but I was really trying to hear any hint either way because I was so not sure, if that makes sense. And they just weren't giving it to us. Santini does say like she wouldn't feel safe if she didn't have the necklace. And then that's when she reveals that she can't vote for everyone, or she reveals it to everyone. They talk about tribe unity. And again, I'm like, but who? In my notes, I'm like, but who? Tribe unity kind of makes me think Pinty because she was, being a little rough with everybody. But if you don't like Mike, because we also heard that, we don't like Mike. We don't trust Mike. So that's also tribe unity.
Yes, I didn't. I mean, I didn't know for sure who was going, obviously, but I was like, it's going to be Mike. Yeah. I'm like, it's going to be Mike. I think Pinty's going to come out here. She's going to get some votes. And I thought that was going to be interesting going back to the camp, being like, a little bit of friction, like, why did you vote for me type vibes. And so I thought that's how it was going to, that's how it was going to go.
Yes. Well, when the votes are read, and we don't see any votes, any actual written votes at this point, but when the votes are read, it did feel like a Mike vote too, because they start us with a Pinty.
Exactly.
And then I'm like, Mike.
Where'd the word vote come in there from too?
Oh, girl, let's talk about that in a minute. Because it goes Pinty, Mike, Warda, and then the rest are Pinty. And I was like, whoa, we went back to Pinty?
All Pinty. I was shocked that it was all Pinty. They got me. I got.
Yeah, I got. And yeah, legitimately, Paul says, your cooking's no good. Your cooking's awful. Whatever he says.
Like
as he wrote down,
too soggy. Like what?
Warda's name. I don't like your cooking. Your cooking's awful. What? Paul,
See, like, so for the fact that anybody's giving him any sort of like, oh, the strategic mastermind, like, he's not strategic
Did
at
no
all.
one loop back and tell him who they were voting for? Did he think anyone else was voting for Warda, or did he just not care?
I think that he probably didn't care. I mean, I don't think
He's
that
like, I'll vote for whoever I want to.
his vote didn't matter, and so maybe nobody told him because like maybe they didn't want him to maybe say anything. I don't know.
Well, I think this whole vote is very, very interesting. So obviously Pinty is gone, and Inesu gets a little emotional, which if this was later in the season, I'd have been like, that was really good jury management. But I think she just has feelings. Because when they show the votes and Pinty is telling, wow, I got blindsided. This was legit really good editing because she says, and I think Inesu felt bad. I don't think she knew about it. Her and Tyson were the two votes to save me as Inesu and Tyson had voted for Pinty. And then she says, I think it was orchestrated, or she says it was obviously orchestrated by Chappies and Paul. And that's when we see Chappies is a vote for Mike. He's the only other vote for Mike besides Pinty. And then Paul's like, Warda, your cooking is horrible.
She was so wrong. And you would think, though, that she would have recognized, because I believe that Inesu kind of put a nickname, like how she said her, like it was like Pinty, or like she spelled it like in a cutesy kind of way, which would tip me off as to be somebody that I was close to. So I would have thought that she'd been like, oh, that's Inesu for sure. So the fact that she was like, well, no, she was upset. Like, there's no way that she would have voted for me. She was one of my two votes, or Mike's votes.
I mean, that's just a clear sign that Pinty obviously wasn't as in as she thought, and maybe we thought. But I feel like Inesu got she's our central character. She got the word that the vote was Pinty, and she did not loop back in the alliance that Pinty is in with her, which is Chappies and Paul. That's Chappies, Paul, Inesu, and Pinty were the alliance. And so when she finds out it's Pinty's, she doesn't tell Chappies and Paul. And so they legit were out of the loop, I think is what happened.
That's might not be good for Inesu. What do you think the fallout will be for the fact that Pinty told Tyson about Chappie's bracelet? Oh, I can't raise an eyebrow. I've always wanted to. Can't do it. I can't.
Sometimes I can do both. Yeah, no, I think she dropped a bomb before she left. I mean, she didn't know she was leaving. Well, first off, I love that Tyson's just like, I'm going to sit back and let people bring me information. This is great. I don't know. Again, I don't know that this diplomatic immunity is like a dangerous tool. It's probably just good information for Tyson to have, that A, Chappies has something, and that B, Chappies will keep secrets. Yeah. So I think that's just good for Tyson to know. But what I'm more concerned about is Chappies realizing he was left out of this vote.
Yes. Well, we do see, all right, can we talk about like the scenes from the next episode? There's like a little scene where Santoni is sharing with him about the clue, I believe, for the immunity idol. So I actually think this is good because she wants to play. She wants to play. And Chappie, you hate it?
I hate it when anyone tells someone about it.
I would take everything to the grave for sure. But like, I feel for her though, I think that she feels safe for the fact that she has another idol that nobody's going to know about. And so I think that she's trying to build trust with this clue with Chappie, who also wants to bring her into the fold as being the weakest person to maybe go back out there and get more things. So I do feel as though this is not all the information. Like if she tells her about the actual idol, I'd be like, no, he's not your friend. He's not your alliance. Like, no. But this clue, I think it could be something that could bring her into the fold. I think it could be used in a really good way for her.
Yeah, well, it's like paying off exactly what Chappie's said. I want to bring her in to get intel about Immunity Island. And it looks like that's 100% working. She's telling him the intel. I don't believe you ever reveal that you have an idol or a clue to an idol unless you need help. If you need someone to help you get the idol, then yes, try to find someone reliable that you can tell. And hopefully he does take this, especially after being left out of a vote. If she's giving him this information, hopefully he's like, okay, yes, I'm in with Santini. Like, this is legit. And she can trust him if she's revealing this information, is what I'm hoping. It doesn't, burn her. But sometimes it might burn everyone because they dropped their buffs.
I know. I'm happy that they're dropping their buffs, actually. I usually am just like, come on, give them a little bit more time. But like, I want Dino to have a new dynamic. Like, I just want to see some people that were on the bottom, maybe have some numbers. Like, so I did want to see a little bit of a shakeup here. And I like that it's even when they're shaking things up. So hopefully it ends up even. I don't like when the tribes in the swap ends up being lopsided. I want that to be even as well. Hopefully, how many is left? Is it 8 and 8? I hope it's not 9 and 9.
9 and 9.
Oh, so that's not good.
Yeah, we've only lost one on each side, so it's 9 and 9. I don't know. I feel like this is really early.
Too early.
This is like I don't even know everyone's names. I mean, I'm just like, you're gonna mix them up when they've just gotten started. I don't know.
I agree with you for sure with like, if we went a little bit longer into the game, so maybe say 4 weeks, 3-4 weeks, then like I will know who's on each original tribe to remember being like, oh, they're original, this, they're original that. And like, so I would remember like, oh, they have those people still on the other tribe as like potential alliance members. So I don't really know them well enough to be able to track who might still have allegiance to the new other side. So yeah, I agree with you. We don't know them well enough to be able to like figure out strategy.
Does anyone have allegiance to an original tribe if you were on it for 6 days?
True.
That's it. It was 1 week on their first tribe and they're going to get mixed up. And so I don't think come merge, you are probably going to even care who you were with that first week. It will feel like forever ago, I would imagine.
Well,
I don't know. But isn't this going to be interesting, Chantele, if Santini tells Chappies, but they don't get it yet? Then they mix up the tribes. And what if she's not even on that camp? What if she's at the other beach?
Well, maybe it's at both beaches because, like, what was it? It was like walk 2 steps for. Oh, I miss these little limericks of like clues to try to find things. I'm like, yeah, I do love that. I meant to write it down, but I forgot. But it was like, I don't know, take 2 walks, 2 pieces this way and whatnot, and like, and probably have to dig. And so it might be the same for both sides. So Chappie might be separated from her, but if he has that information in his head, he might still be able to get his hands on an idol without a clue. So
I would definitely check. That is a good point. If you do get stuck on the other camp, beach area, double check.
Yes. Definitely double check. I mean,
I am worried.
Because I didn't prove this.
Okay, well, so in the past, I mean, yes, some people are like super duper loyal and they're like, I was in alliance for 1 day. That's it for life. Some people are like that. Some people aren't. I don't know. Yeah, we could definitely get 3 tribes when we just do like a drop your buffs mix up.
Ooh.
Since it's 9.
6 is okay.
18, yeah. Could be. I wouldn't hate that. I like a 3 tribe mix up. I don't know. Yeah, I hope, we were talking about how like Threeso and Santini, sort of get like an extra chance, but if they get mixed up,
they might.
Does it help? Does it hurt?
Will they still be getting sent off to Immunity Island if they are in tribes of 333? Will that still be a thing? I wonder.
Then who do you send? How do you pick? Yeah.
I do think it gives them extra life though. Like they will have a chance still. They still could be, the perceived weakest and be sent to Immunity Island. I don't know. I'm interested to see how it plays out. I can agree with you for sure that, it's a little bit early, but I don't mind the shakeup of it. I'm not too mad.
Look, hey, I love twists. I love chaos. So I'm okay with it. I just was like, whoa, real shocked. Yeah, Abby, I mean, they certainly haven't told us that is true, but it does make sense since Chappie's said it makes sense that whoever has the bracelet, just like if whoever has the idol, can play it, So I have to imagine that part's true. I just don't think he can say you are going to that tribe. I don't think he can claim
when he
it.
was talking about it, I was kind of like, is he embellishing that to make it seem a little bit more powerful than it actually is? Because it's not that powerful, but maybe it is more powerful now that there's these 3 tribes because if you are on the bottom and you don't have the balanced numbers and be like, hey, I'm using my, my diplomatic immunity, I'm going to go to this tribe that has more of my people on it. Like, so.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When or the tribe with the idol on it. What about that?
Oh, right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So yeah, last week when we were talking about this, we were like, why? There's really, only if it's really bad would you use it. But now if you're mixed up, there's way more, reasons to use it. Yeah. For one is I know there's an idol on that tribe. I'm going over there and getting that idol.
What if he gets it what if it's on both islands, or tribes? So he goes and finds this one and be like, hey man, I'm out of here. Let me go pick up another one and go to the other one as well.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that or just the majority of my alliance is over there. I'm moving.
I think that's the reason why they're doing this early swap is that there's more potential for that bracelet to be used. Because with them having, the immunity island and they're setting off the weakest or whatever player, chances are it's not going to be used. You know what I mean? It's chances. So with the swap, there might be unbalanced and it gives more opportunity for this to happen. So that is why the swaps happen so early. We figured it out.
Yep, that makes a lot more sense. Okay, we get it. And I get Immunity Island. Okay, I'm loving it. I'm understanding things. This feels better. And yeah, super excited. I mean, like a shakeup, it's always going to be exciting, whether it's good or bad for each player or too early or whatever. We're going to be excited no matter what.
Definitely excited no matter what. And I'm excited to see, I think it is going to be all about Chappie. Because remember we're kind of I don't know if it's going to be all about Chappie. Does he think it's going to be about him? I actually do think that it looks like the season is his game. It seems with just the scenes from next week, him talking to Santoni, and he has the only other the bracelet. I do see him sticking around long, and I can see him carving his way to the end now more so than last week.
Right. I really felt like the majority of this episode, I thought, wow, Chappie's is really in the center of things. He is in with a lot of people. He's got some great ideas. And then it wasn't until I saw the vote and that he was left out that I was like, ooh, maybe not as good of a position as I thought, but still, not going anywhere anytime soon, I don't think.
No, especially he's going to have probably 2 idols, the bracelet. I could see him gathering all the trinkets.
Gathering them all. All right. Well, we will find out next week. You guys, thank you so much for joining us live in the chat. We really appreciate all your insights. And if you're joining us later, leave us a comment. Let us know how you feel about Santoni, how you feel about Pinty, Chappie's, Anesu, all of it. Let us know all of your thoughts.
I did want to say one thing about Anesu is that she has the most beautiful, soothing voice. When she's just talking, I'm just I just want to listen to her. It's very melodic and it's very, I don't know, she should get into voice work because it's very nice to listen to. I remember
she was teach yoga? Should she?
Oh, maybe. Yes. She should.
She's like, this is why I found yoga. Listen to me.
It's good though. I was just like, oh, it sounds so nice. So I wanted to bring that up.
Let's take her yoga class.
Maybe she has it on. She has it on probably Instagram, so we can probably find her.
She probably does. I don't follow enough of them on Instagram. I should find that. I got to get better at Instagram, you guys. Okay, we'll be back next Saturday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and we hope to see you then.
Yay.
Bye.